Hey gang, this is Mike with My Real Estate Dojo, and today's lesson is about how did I get into the real estate business. So this is my story. It all started with 2007 fourth quarter. I clearly remember. I don't never watch TV or news, but for some reason, faith, I would say, had it that I was watching TV. Actually was the news, and in 2007 fourth quarter the stock market had started to crash, and I really didn't know anything about real estate. I really didn't know anything about stock market. As you guys already know, I'm a refugee to America. Both of my parents are illiterate. None of them even have a high school education, so I was pretty ignorant when it came to real estate and stocks. I knew about entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur since 10th grade. I started out selling supplements, then turned into personal training, and never had a job after 10th grade, guys. So I've always been an entrepreneur, and I learned to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know anything about real estate, and I didn't know anything about stocks. But one thing that I did know is that whenever the herd is running away in one direction, if you want to be successful, you have to go to the other opposite direction. Let me put it another way. If everybody's going right, I was smart enough to know that I have to go left if I want to make money. And I was also smart enough from reading all these books all these years that realized that when the market is down, that's when you could really become wealthier, make moves that have greater harvest than if you make moves in an up market. So I knew that. So I clearly remember it was 2007, the fourth quarter. For some reason, I'm watching this TV that I never watched, and I'm watching news, which I never watched. And the news anchor woman is talking about how stocks are crashing down. I clearly remember listening to Bank of America. The Bank of America stocks were extremely high at that time. And then when the crash hit, they were becoming less than $5 a share. I don't remember exactly how much they were, but I saw them being like $50, then they dropped down to like $25. And the last time I watched TV, they were less than $5, or right around $5. I don't remember because it's so far away, but I just remember some voice inside of me told me, Mike, this is the time to make your move. This is the time to make your move. Okay? So I instantly went out to the bookstore and I bought Jim Cramer book. The title is Real Money. And guys, I hate that guy Jim Cramer. I don't have anything, that I like about him, but I thought that he was the expert in stocks, so I decided to go run out there and buy his book. And it was a very thick book, and it wasn't very interesting, but I dominated the book. I finished it in 1 or 2 days. And let me pause there and go to the next stage and how it relates to me getting to the real estate investment. So I had just read the book, and then in my own personal life, I had my moving company. At that time, our moving company was doing extremely well. We were grossing $80,000 a month, $100,000 a month. Fluctuated. So I was making significant amount of money for a guy that's a refugee to America. Only had $100. Lived in my car after college. So I was making moves in my mind. I thought I was doing pretty good considering that, I have all these disabilities. And throughout my life, I've never owned a house. In 2007, fourth quarter, I didn't even own a house. Me and my ex-wife at that time, we lived in an extremely nice loft in Los Colinas at that time. And for a one-bedroom apartment was, 1,500 square foot, 1,900 square foot. I'm not sure, it was 2-story, extremely pretty big, top-notch area. And I think we paid roughly about $2,000 a month on it, $1,900 a month on it, believe it or not. So I was living in a really luxurious area, which was a loft. And I really loved it because I'm not a handyman, guys. I can't even change the light bulbs. I've never changed the tire on my car. So I'm not a handyman type of guy, okay? So I never wanted to own a house because I didn't want to do all the maintenance that's required, like cut the grass and fix stuff, because I'm not really good at that stuff. It sounds funny, but I'm not. So it was 2007 fourth quarter. We were paying extremely high rent. And the market had crashed, and I noticed that interest rates were coming extremely down. And at the same time, property values were coming extremely down. And I never wanted to own a house before, but then at 2007 fourth quarter, 2008, I really realized that this is a great time for me to buy my own house, because houses around the area that were like 400,000 were coming down significantly. $200,000 homes were coming down significantly. Even in Texas, all around the country, they were coming down dramatically, but in Texas, it was still coming down. And there was a lot of panic in the air. People were watching the news, reading the papers, and the herd follows the herd. And I really realized that this is a time to buy myself a personal home. And at that time, I had a couple $100,000 in the bank. I had great credit. My credit was 772. But the crazy thing was that I didn't have any credit cards. I never borrowed any money. So I didn't have any credit history, guys. Even though I had $100,000 plus in my banking account, even though I had 700 plus credit score, 772, I didn't have any credit history because I've never borrowed money. And that was the hiccup. Because I clearly remember dressing up in my professional suit and having this professional folder that I went to 3 different banks to borrow some money to buy a house. You get a mortgage, you get a loan. And in this folder, I was so professional, guys. I had my check stubs because I got paid for at my company. Plus, I got dividends from my company. I had my tax returns for 4 or 5 years. I had, bank statements showing the money I had in my savings account and stuff like that. So I was, I had my driver's license. So I had this folder that was extremely prepped up. And I thought, I'm going to walk into this bank and they're going to give me this money because I have cash. I could actually buy the house for cash. I didn't want to use all my cash because interest rates were getting lower than what they were before, like 2006. They were extremely high. And house prices were coming down. So I was like, hey, let me go get a loan like everybody else and get a house. Because at that time, people were not getting loans because getting a loan was harder to get. Where 2006 and before, if you could fog up a mirror, they would give you a loan. And that's why I didn't want to get a loan, because they were giving everybody loans and I knew it wasn't the right time, and house prices would keep going up and up and up. So anyways, I dressed up. I had my professional folder. It took me a couple hours to set it up. Very professional. I went to bank number 1, they declined me. I went to bank number 2, they declined me. I went to bank number 3, they declined me on the house mortgage. And I was devastated, guys, because I've never wanted to borrow any money from anybody. And I'm going to go up there to borrow money. I have money in the fucking bank. I have extremely good credit. But the same story is, hey, we can't lend you the money because you don't have credit. And the market had just melted down, and lenders were really tightening up on lending money. And so, man, I remember going home and feeling like a piece of shit. I remember just like crying, like, man, I can't believe this, guys. I have money in the bank, I buy the fucking house cash, I have good credit. However, none of these motherfucking banks are gonna give me the fucking money. And the guy that's talking to me is some goofball, doesn't even have good credit like I do. He doesn't have a couple hundred in the bank, and he's rejected me. And I really remember that taste in my mouth, that, man, I busted my ass, I went and did moves, I slept in my fucking car, I'm a success compared to most people, and these motherfucking bankers are not gonna give me the fucking money because some bullshit regulation they have. Where I'm a very strong candidate, unlike a lot of people that went and borrowed money just without any proof of funds, because in 2006, 2004, they were just lending money to anybody. And I was thinking to myself, I'm a prudent customer, I've done my due diligence, I'm buying at the right time, the market's down, the interest rate's down, I have money in the bank, I have great credit. These fucking bankers are fucking idiots, man. They're not giving me the fucking money, and they give the money to all these people that got their home foreclosed on. I just remember thinking that. Okay, now let's take that idea that I wasn't able to borrow any money from the bank, and I knew this is a good time to buy me a personal home, my homestead. So I got rejected. The market was extremely down. The stocks were extremely down, and I had just read Jim Cramer's book about the stock market, and I clearly remember the stock market, for example, Bank of America being like 50, then coming down to 25, then becoming less than $5. And I knew that this is the time to get into business, to invest my money. So after I read that stocks book, I really realized that stocks are not for me. And I'll give you 3 reasons why I didn't go with the stocks. Even though if I would have bought some Bank of America stocks, I would have made some shitload of money today, guys. But I didn't go that route. And here's the reasons why I didn't go with the stocks. I'll give you 3. Number 1, most important, was that if a stock is, let's say, worth $10, I have to buy it at $10 and anticipate that it's going to go up in value. What I mean by that is that I have to buy a stock and say, hey, it's going to go up. If it's $10, I got to buy it for $10 and I got to hope that's going to go up to $12 or $13, what have you. Okay? Where in real estate, it's not like that. If the house is worth $10, I can negotiate, I could market, I could find motivated sellers and buy the house for $7 or $8, where I instantly build equity when I buy the property, and I don't have to speculate or gamble that the property values have to go up or the stock values have to go up before I'm able to make money. So then, number 1 reason why I didn't want to get into stocks is because whatever the face value of the stock was, I had to buy it for that exact price, and I didn't have any advantage of buying less. So I have to speculate or gamble, and I'm not a gambler. I hate gambling, guys. So that's the number 1 reason. The number 2 reason why I didn't like stocks is because I like to be in the control. I like to be driving the car. And I feel like if I buy stocks, I can't control the employees of the company. I can't control the CEO of the company, you know? And I realize just like in my life, it's up and down. Some days I'm down, some days I'm up. And same thing in life with when I buy a stock. Maybe the CEO's wife left him. Maybe he's feeling down. Maybe his kid is sick. And there's so many situations that are out of my control that I can't control that CEO or the employee's decision he makes, which I felt like investing my money on something that I cannot control really was not what I wanted to do, guys. Okay? And the 3rd reason why I didn't get into stocks is because I really never thought about or enjoyed getting rich with stocks. You know, I remember living in my car reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, you know, where he talked about getting his first rental property, and I was living in my car, you know, didn't have any money. I remember telling myself, hey, I'm going to do exactly what this Rich Dad Poor Dad guy said and get rental properties, because that sounded like more glamorous to me. I get to actually control it. So the 3rd reason why I didn't get to stocks is because it was digital, and I wanted something that I could drive by and look at the property. I wanted to have total control of the investment. I didn't want to rely on somebody else to take care of my investment. And therefore, in 2007, 4th quarter, almost 2008, I had an opportunity to dump my money that I had saved into stocks or buy myself a personal home. Okay, which I didn't want to use all my cash because I knew the market was down and I wanted to invest that cash. Okay, so since I had been declined at the bank to buy my personal home, and since I read that Kramer's book and I realized that stocks is not something that I want to get into, and since I was smart enough, God knows how, to realize that, hey, the market is tanking like a motherfucker in America, all across America, and this is a time to get rich. Okay, this is a time to make moves. And because of those 3 cofactors, I didn't want to get into stocks. I was declined to get myself a homestead from the bank, even though I had money in the bank, I had good credit, etc. I made a decision that I want to get into real estate, and real estate is the way to go. But guys, unfortunately, I didn't know shit about real estate. You know, I'm living in a loft, in apartments all my life. I don't know how to cut a grass. I don't know shit about real estate. I've never even done one real estate transaction. I don't know left from right. All right? But I know this is the time to get in here. So guys, since I had my business, my moving company, Dr. Move, going, it was producing me money, I was very blessed because I didn't have to go to work. I had about 24 employees at that time working, you know, contractors, managers, people answer the phone. So I was able to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, I say 24, but what I mean is every fucking day, just studying real estate. You know, every book that I got my hands on, I crushed it. You know, I signed up to take the realtor classes. Okay, I took the realtor classes, but I didn't take the test because I didn't want to become a realtor. Once I went to the realtor classes, I realized the stuff they were teaching is just for retail buyers and not for an investor. And so I realized I spent a lot of time and money and energy on some shit that didn't benefit me 100%. So I changed course. And I devoured book after book. I read form after form. I went to seminar after seminar, and I paid money up to $33,000 in my education from different gurus and mentors. And so let me tell you how I got my first deal. So I read a lot of books, went to a couple of seminars, but then I made my first purchase on this mentor that I found online that I thought, hey, this is a credible individual. And I paid $500 for, I believe it's $500, a little plus or minus, I don't really remember, it's been a while. But it was roughly about $500 a course. And I paid next day delivery. The guy shipped it to me. I devoured this book. It was like a big folder. I finished it in one fucking day. The next morning, once I got it, I took massive action. Okay, this book basically was the nuts and bolts of the business. It wasn't, the individual wasn't selling me on a dream like, hey, real estate's really good, you can make money, blah, blah, blah. The guy was giving me the nuts and bolts of the business, where when I read page 1 or chapter 2, I did exactly what the guy said, when he included flyers, what I should put on the bandit signs. And guess what, guys? I went and bought some bandit signs. You know, I remember I bought like a couple hundred bandit signs. I put them out just like the guy said. And my phone started ringing. And it was ringing like crazy because I'm in a market where it was 2008 now. And, you know, real estate's really shitty nationwide in Texas. There's a lot of fear. The newspapers pumping fear. The magazines are pumping fear. Everybody wants to sell. I don't even know why. Even though they don't need to move, just because the house has lost value, they're freaking out. So they're selling. There's so many leads are coming in just from this couple of hundred signs that I put out. I mean, I'm talking about a lot of people. So at that time, I didn't know shit from Adam. I read a lot of books. I went to seminar. I've never done a deal. So I got my first deal, and a call came in. I set up an appointment, and I went out there, and it happened to be this couple that, you know, was a husband and wife and 2 kids, and they had this beautiful home, 2-story, about 3,500 square foot, a pool in the back. You know, it was built in like 2005, if I'm not mistaken. Brand new home. I mean, it was a beautiful home. I mean, when I went into it, I was like, wow, it doesn't need any work. And they had upgraded, updated it, etc. And these guys were going to a divorce, and they were fucking motivated. And I didn't know shit from anything, guys, left from right. All I had done is read a handful of books, read a bunch of forms, and I read this one manual that gave me the nuts and bolts. And I just went in, and I knocked on the door, and before I went in there, I remember sitting in my car, closing my eyes, and zoning in, okay, on the moves that I'm gonna do before I go in there. So I basically closed my eyes and I visualized myself doing the moves, or doing the wrestling match, or whatever it is that I'm gonna talk to the sellers, how I'm gonna tour their home, what kind of questions I'm gonna ask them, how I'm gonna get my hands raised because they're gonna want them to sign the contract. I saw it all in my mind before I knocked on the door. And then I knocked on the door, Carlos opened the door, which is the seller, and I went into, like, I've done this a million times, okay? Even though I was so fucking scared inside, even though I didn't know left from right, even though I didn't have the paperwork, I didn't know shit, guys, but I had the confidence that I'm gonna do this. And sure, I made a lot of mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, but the point of the story is that I was able to get my first deal just through massive action and massive belief in myself. And I couldn't believe it because my first deal was a beautiful home. It had about 20-25% equity, and the guy was willing to just subject to it to me. And what that meant was that he was willing to just let me take over his payment. I didn't have to give this dude any money. You know, I only offered to pay for their closing just because, you know, it was going to cost me a couple of grand, and I couldn't believe it because just a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, I'm sitting in front of the bankers in a nice suit with this beautiful folder that I've included years of fucking history of me and my payments and my bank statements and tax returns for me, for my company, to show them I'm worthy, and they fucking decline me, and I have to give them 20% down, which is like 10, 20 grand on the kind of house that I want to buy. And now I'm talking to this motivated seller. He's willing to give me his fucking house, which is beautiful, for nothing, for free. He's gonna give it to me. And all he wants me to do is just make his monthly payments so it doesn't hurt his credit. Because at that time, those guys couldn't sell their home because of the way the market was, and whatever the situation was, they wanted to sell without, traditionally, they were willing to give it to me. And I was so happy. So I paid for their closing. It was like a couple of grand. And boom, in less than a week or two, I owned the property. And me and my wife and my 3 dogs actually moved into this property. And I couldn't fucking believe it, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't believe it, because instead of me paying thousands of dollars, 20% down to move into a property, okay, then signing my social security to the bank, pledging my house to the bank, giving them access to ruin my credit if I don't perform, if I default, and being at the mercy of the banks of the interest rate, being at the mercy of the title company with all the junk fees they add up. I didn't have to do any of that. I didn't have to dance to any of that bullshit that normal people dance to when they want to get a loan. I was in total control, and I was totally, couldn't believe it, because I'd never even owned the house before. I don't even know how the closing process worked, because I've never closed on a fucking deal before. But now I was in total control. I paid the seller extremely small amount of money to move in. And I was already in the fucking property, and the property was already upgraded. And another great thing was that the loan was already 7-6 years into the fucking loan. So what that meant is that Carlos had made all the payments up front that went towards the interest. And whenever I bought the property, excuse me, when I started making payments on the property, it went more towards principal reduction than the interest, because the first few years, all the payments you make goes towards the amortization of interest, and that's how the banks get ahead so much, because of that amortization. Okay, so I couldn't even believe it. I got a beautiful home. The home was upgraded. I didn't have to get a loan. I didn't have to pledge my social security. I didn't have to deal with no fucking bankers, no title company, etc. And I got all the fucking benefits of owning the home. Plus, I got equity. I just couldn't believe it, guys. And I just thought to myself, thank you, America. Thank you for Mom and Dad for bringing me to America. And I really just was so grateful that, you know, just because I had failed getting the loan from the bank, that this blessing had happened to me, you know. And I was so grateful for all these books that had educated me. And guys, once I read that one book, once I took fucking action, once I got my fucking deal, everything else was history. After that, I took massive action, massive action. I went to seminars, I paid these gurus, and everything like that. And it was, when I look back, I have no regrets, because if I didn't pay these gurus, I could never have done a deal. I'm not gonna say it was these gurus what made me successful. No, ladies and gentlemen, it was me that went into the gym and put the sweat in there. They give me the guidance, they give me the light. But I was the motherfucker at the gym sweating every day. I was the motherfucker at the gym working 7 days a week. I was the guy that wasn't watching TV and grinding the hustle. I was the guy that was willing to take the risk and say, hey, can this creative financing really work? Is this bullshit? Or, you know, I was the guy that was willing to not follow the herd by getting a traditional loan and going somewhere else. Because I'm very sure that if I would continue going from bank to bank, somebody would give me the loan. But I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad that I was so sick and tired of getting rejected the third time that I said, you know what? Fuck the fucking banks. I'm gonna go use my creative thought, and I'm gonna figure it out. Just like how I did with turning $100 into, you know, $1 million company with Dr. Move. If I had done that once, then I could do it again. And so, guys, the point of the story is, if you live in America, the grass is so green. It doesn't matter if you know what to do. The step to greatness, the hardest part is the first step, ladies and gentlemen, because you have to believe in yourself so much to take the first step. Once you take the first step, you're gonna see results, you're gonna see feedbacks, which is gonna loop into your brain, and you're gonna motivate you or make adjustments to get the result. So the point of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in America, there's no reason to be poor. If you have disabilities, for example, if you don't have money, or if you don't have credit, or if you can't read like me, or if you can't spell great like me, or all this disabilities that I have no connection, etc., you don't have to let that, your lacks and your disabilities define you. You define yourself through hard work, through imagination, through fucking the grind. Never let a fucking banker define you. Never let non-believers define you, ladies and gentlemen. Never let anybody tell you you can't do something. If the idea comes in your fucking mind, it goes into your soul, it was meant for you, and you better go out there and hustle and bustle. You better go out there and chase it. And fuck what you don't have. Focus on what you do have, okay? And if you focus on what you do have and why you gotta hustle, the rest is history, guys. This is America. The grass is so green. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you listening to me. And this is how I got into the real estate investing world. Not that because my daddy knew how to do it, not because my mommy knew how to do it, not because I had a friend show me. No, it was just through struggle, ladies and gentlemen. It was through hardship that I was able to push myself and learn to create a way to buy properties where most other people don't do that. So if you're in a situation where I was, maybe you didn't have the money, maybe you didn't have the good credit, but even I had the money and credit, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't able to get a loan. So it's what I'm trying to tell you. I still had this disability because the time I decided to make my move, it was the worst time in the normal banker's mind to buy a property, where to me it was the best time. And I didn't take a no for an answer. I decided to go a different route and make it happen for myself. So gang, never take no for an answer. Never listen to non-believers. Go out there and chase your dreams. I know you can do it. I see your greatness. Even if you can't see it for yourself, I know you can do it. If I can do it, I can't spell, I can't read that grammar. Refugee in America, I don't have no connection, no network. If I can do it, then goddamn, you can do it 10 times better than me, 1,000 times better than me. I guarantee you, because I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. I'm just willing to put the work in. I'm willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to get there. If that means reading 60 books a year, well. If that means reading 120 books a year, done. If that means working 7 days a week, done. If that means not watching TV, done. If that means not going on vacation, done. If that means not having kids, done. Whatever the fuck it took, I'm willing to do it. And if you have that mindset, me versus me mindset, or if you have the success or death mindset, then you're gonna be successful in America. The grass is so green. So go out there and chase your dream. Thanks for watching. See you next time, gang. Have a great day.